thanks for coming today, Shawn. So, you're an occupational therapist. I've known you for a few years. So, if you would, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background,
All right.
please.
My name is Shawn Williams. I went to school for occupational therapy in Iowa, Davenport. Went to
Okay.
St. Ambrose University for my undergrad. So I got my degrees in occupational therapy, and then I received one in psychology at the same time, double major. Then when I came out to Arizona, I went to AT Still and I acquired my advanced master's in occupational therapy at
Okay.
AT Still University.
Wow. Okay. So, what if somebody wanted to be an occupational therapist today? What do you think they should do? What should be their path?
Well, generally speaking, most therapists programs now, majority of them are doctorate level. I don't even know if there's any master's levels still available. But
Okay.
generally, what you need to do is have a psychology background or any
Okay.
type of degree that emphasizes the human body and how it functions. Kinesiology is a good one.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
Anything in those science areas. Chemistry actually has a lot of components to the therapy too.
Oh, great. Okay. So then they would go on, get their doctorate, and then do they need to get
So you're going to have
licensed?
your undergrad.
Okay.
Most programs are going to have an entry level doctorate, which means
Okay.
that you can acquire your master's and your doctorate at the same time once you
Oh,
enter. So you
okay.
come in with a bachelor's degree, but a lot of people do have a master's and then they transition into doctorate level.
Okay.
Um, Majority of us have a psych degree already before we even start the programs.
Wow. Okay. Neat. So, what is an occupational therapist? I bet there's a lot of people who don't know what that is.
Well, it took me 2.5 years before I actually knew what I was doing the last week of school. Um,
Wow.
so, occupational therapist. Most people think of occupation as things that you do for work,
Right.
but we look at the occupation as anything that you need to do to fulfill your daily activities. Um,
Okay.
for instance, you're a female, that's an occupation. You also are a teacher, that's an occupation.
Mm,
But if you coach soccer or baseball, those are occupations as well, whether you get paid or not. Driving your car is actually an occupation. Um, what we look at is whatever it is that you need to do on a daily basis to complete that occupation at that point in time um, is what we're going to address. So an occupational
okay.
therapist looks at the person for that moment and what they need to do, and we work on those skills.
Okay. How how is an occupational therapist different from a physical therapist?
Yeah, that's another question we say. They say OT rules and PTs drool. That, that's just our joke. Um, Occupational therapists and physical therapists, we take a lot of classes in conjunction in school. A lot of the physic, physics, chemistry, any of the science classes like kinesiology as well, we can overlap with them. But when we actually break off as the years go on, they spend a lot more emphasis on different diagnoses than we do. They work on the lower body more than an occupational therapist. When
Okay.
we're working together, we generally say, okay, you take the bottom, I'll take the top. Okay,
Okay.
so occupational therapists work the upper body more.
Okay.
But if they're independent of each other, a physical therapist can address the whole body's needs. An occupational therapist has a strong psych background, so we also work with how the body and the mind are working together. So
Mm,
the signals from the brain and how they function and make the body actually function, are the signals that the brain's receiving from the body, and we work on trying to manage them so that they're working together.
wow. Okay. What are some of the different settings that an OT might work in?
Well, that's another one. Occupational therapists can be found in a lot of different settings.
Oh, okay.
Through the years, we've diversified. We found a lot of different specialty areas that allow us to really specify, our interests. You'll find occupational therapists in home health settings where we go to the patient's home and work with them. You will
Okay.
find us in school settings. You can find us
Okay.
in private practice settings, which have different specialties within themselves, like vision therapy, hand therapy. You also find us um, doing workman's comp. You can find
Okay.
us working and doing home evaluations and home modifications. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can choose as far as what you want to do.
That's great. Okay. So, what would you say, like, what is daily life like for you as an OT?
Daily life for me is kind of chaotic, but at the same time, I love it. Um,
That's
it's different for me because I actually have a lot of different areas that I like to work in. Right now, I currently work in. I have two agencies that I do home health for. I also
Okay.
work at a skilled nursing facility, and then I just started my private practice. I
Wow.
like the diversity because I am one of those that do not like to be in one spot for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I'm at the point where I'm actually growing up, and I'm getting tired of running around all the time. So I'm trying to
Okay.
just be in the office at this time.
Okay.
Um, with my home health, I go to the patient's home, I work with them, and it might be balance, it might be a shoulder problem, it might be actually dementia and a person that's having problems with remembering, where things are in their house. My job is to make sure the home environment is safe for them, and then also work on any physical or psychological issues that they may be facing. In the skilled
Wow.
nursing facility, I'm doing general therapy. It might be a stroke patient. It might be someone that came in with a total nip or total hip replacement
Mm.
or a total knee replacement. Um, and then it could be
Wow.
pain management. Those are some
Wow.
of the top ones that we see. And then in my private practice, I treat the whole body. I have a lot of kids that come in that 5 on up, and we work with autism
Mm-hmm.
and behaviors. It's my one of my specialties in the past, which I know this sounds like a lot of different things, but
Yeah.
I also have an orthopedic side where I work with people that have physical issues like shoulder injuries, elbow injuries, wrist injuries.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Sounds like a lot that you do every day.
It is.
So,
It is.
so I guess two comments on that. So one is, it sounds like then it's not like you're doing the same thing every day. So if you're not that kind of person, I guess, or if you're starting to get bored, you could start doing different things within your own
Hmm.
career. Okay.
Definitely. That's the pros about being an occupational therapist.
Okay.
Occupational therapists, um, we are basically taught to treat the whole body. Mind, body, and soul is how it looks. So, you work on how the body is working together with the mind as
Okay.
well, but you also work with what's motivating the individual. And sometimes there's psychological issues that
Mm.
are causing the problems that they cannot function physically, like depression could be an issue. You get diagnoses like fibromyalgia, where the body's kind of fighting itself.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
but those are just ways to look at it. There are a lot of therapists that specialize in other areas once they get in there. We have vision therapy, we
Okay.
have hand therapy, we have pediatrics alone, and then
Mm.
even within pediatrics, you can specialize in gait training for
Mm.
not for occupational therapists, I'm sorry, that would be physical therapists, but you could be one of those that work with orthopedic clientele. You could be one that works with neurological issues.
Okay.
So again, you can diversify, you can specialize into one area. But there's if you get bored or if you get overwhelmed or if you find out that you know what, I just don't like this anymore, you can just take the same degree and say, you know what, I'm going to go work with kids, or I'm going to go
Yeah.
work with adults, or I'm going to go work in the schools
Oh my
versus
gosh.
outpatient.
Or kind of come up with your own. I think you've told, I've heard you tell a
Yeah.
story before about a friend who.
There's a guy I know that he took a special interest in. He actually was a huge gun advocate, but he was also a vet. So he
Mm.
said, you know what, my colleagues are coming back from war, and they've lost a limb, and they still want to
Mm.
shoot. That's something that they really like to do. So he decided that he was going to go into uh, a specialty of adapting uh, guns, and so that people that have had injuries could actually still use them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So then the other point I wanted to make is it sounds like, as an occupational therapist, you're really helping people. And when I, try to help guide students as to like, what do you want to do? They'll kind of say like, I really want to help people. I want to make a difference. So Can you expand on that as an OT? How do you help people? Or do you help people? Do you make a difference in people's lives?
I would say on a daily basis, you are helping people in all aspects of life.
Okay.
I have my little ladies that are 80 years old, and they have no one living with them, and they have to take a shower. And some of these ladies aren't taking showers for 2 weeks because they're afraid to get into the shower. There's nothing like training somebody on how they can get into the shower so that they can actually cleanse their body and feel um, like they are clean. I mean, could you imagine that yourself? So, you get that little smile and the hug when they actually are able to accomplish that. That's so rewarding. And you have these patients that are coming in, and this child is not able to communicate with their parents. And for some reason or another, you figure it out, and you're teaching the family, well, this is what they're trying to tell you. And then you can develop communication boards and that so that they can communicate with each other. And then you'll never find greater joy from a mother that has not been able to understand what their child's needs are, and you're able to try to teach them how to bridge that gap. They will be so grateful to you, and it's just rewarding.
That's great. That's a huge story. Wow, thanks. So all these different aspects that you work in, all these different fields, do you think like a lot of what you learned how to do this was it straight out of schooling? Were you taught everything in the textbook, or?
That would be a joke.
Okay.
25% of what you know is probably going to be from your schooling. The rest is going to be on the job training. You're going to have continuing education courses that are going to teach you a lot of application skills. I tell everybody this too. When I got out of school, I was probably the smartest guy that I ever was. I knew all the intrinsic aspects of how cell development was, and the synapses of the brain, and how communication took place neurologically with the muscle. But when you get out, that level of understanding is always going to be there, but you're never really getting to the point where you're just focusing on the cellular structure in that. Now you're looking at the greater aspects of how muscles move and the body moves. You understand the theory, but now you're going to take courses that actually allow you to apply it on a greater level.
Okay.
So for me, I'm always taking continuing education courses in order to advance my learning.
Okay.
In our schools, our licensures, we have a registry and we have a license.
Okay.
And both of them require you to have about 20 hours of continuing education every 2 years.
Okay.
Mine offset each other, so 1 year I have 20 hours for this one, and the other year I have 20 hours for the next one.
Okay.
No idea how that happened, but it did. So what we do is you only have 20 hours every 2 years, which is, to me, not a lot. But because I want to know the most that I can about my patient care, there's some years that I've done 260 continuing education courses worth of hours in 2 years, but that was my job before. When I owned multiple clinics, I would go out and get training and come back and educate my staff on what they should be doing based on diagnoses or issues. So I enjoy that aspect.
Okay.
In order to be successful, I believe that you will want to continue your education as much as you can and learn about the different facets of how the body's working, because they're always learning new things.
Okay.
But yeah, when you get out of school, 25% of it, you are smart. You are a very intelligent individual. You can talk the talk, but as far as what to do when you see the person, that's what you learn when you're in the field.
Okay. Wow, that's great. Okay. So you've mentioned enjoyment a few times. So can you give us maybe some highlights, like maybe some of the best days on the job, maybe some of the worst days on the job too?
Well, I've explained in the past that my worst days were when I did solely behavior. I worked with people that had autism and people that had behavior issues. As men, there's not as many men, so of course they're going to give you those patients. And I was swamped with patients because females don't really want to get beat up. And sometimes these kids are as big as you are, if not bigger. I've had some situations. I had one incident where I had an individual, and she was 17, and she weighed about 180 pounds, and she wanted to wrestle with me and actually put my elbow through the drywall in the wall, trying to protect myself and also protect her from falling because she had balance issues. But she would attack people out of the blue. Those type of children, and actually she was, I call her an adult at that point in time, as big as she was. But those type of people are very dangerous in the end and can cause you harm. That situation is not one that I would recommend for anyone to be in because you can get injured and hurt yourself.
Wow.
So those are some bad situations. As far as good, every day is a positive for me. Um, just to see the look and the amount of gratitude people give you for what you've taught them. And nothing like teaching the little lady that could not get in the shower how to raise her leg and get in and actually sit down and bathe herself. Just to see her smile and give you hugs. I've had patients that have, cooked food for me and that out of gratitude. And I have some patients that have given me gift cards, but you're not supposed to take them. I have to give them back. I literally had a patient. They were so grateful because they had some balance issues, and when I helped them solve the issue that they had been facing for months, they tried to give me $350 cash as a present. It's around Christmas time. It was hard not to take, but we're not allowed to take those type of gifts. But it was just because they were so grateful and they wanted me to take my family out. But those type of situations are very rewarding.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that's great. Do you, kind of a random question, do you have any general life advice for our students? Like what's the secret to happiness? How do you, or how have you been able to find happiness?
Well, people that know me, I used to work about 60, 70 hours a week. I now have a fiance, and our goal and our agreement was I cannot work that much.
Okay.
The reason being, majority of therapists, whether you're PTOT, are workaholics. We often overwork ourselves. It was to the point that I was working so much, I forgot my kids' grades and even the teachers' names, and that type of lifestyle was not very conducive for my family. I would even say it contributed towards a divorce because I was not there. The issue is you have to find happiness by having work balance. We teach it all day. Teach it to our clients on how to have a balance in life. And it's so easy to get behind on that you actually will become overworked, and money's not the root for success. Happiness is. So I work hard and I play hard. I do put in still more hours than average, but my fiance, she and I have arrangements where it means that she can stay home with the kids a little bit more because I don't want them to miss out on that. But when I come home, I have to turn off work. I have to put my cell phone away. I can't bring out the computer. And I've agreed that we're going to spend time together because I don't want to ever neglect my children from their time with their father. So that would be my advice to anyone that's working, to make sure that you have enough balance so that you can actually enjoy yourself. It's funny because I just went out with a couple friends over the weekend. There's a speech therapist there who's a friend of mine. She lives actually a street over from me.
Okay.
And she and her boyfriend had just broken up. And I said, "What's going on?" She said, "I was working too much.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I was working too much. I let it ruin my relationship." And I can't tell you enough how many times I hear people say things like that. So I just say, hey, you know what? I'd rather be happy going out to get on the lake and drive a boat and have fun with my family than to work and earn a buck.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Live within your
agree with
means,
that.
I tell everybody.
Yeah,
Live within
right,
your means.
Right. Don't overspend, so then you don't have to work all those hours.
Yes,
Yeah, right.
yes.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Good message. So now, how about shadowing? Are there any opportunities for shadowing?
Even though I did say we are understaffed nationwide for occupational therapists,
Right.
every day I probably get about 10 calls for job
Wow.
opportunities.
it's
So
definitely
the
a need.
demand is there.
Wow.
And like
okay.
I said, I could work 60 hours a week if I wanted to, no problem. Right now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to help these other people out that are in need of help.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we still all understand our responsibility as a practice. Practitioners and occupational therapists, we understand the value of us giving back to our own profession, and that includes teaching and showing future candidates, our job.
Good.
We prefer that we have candidates that enjoy their job and not just come in because it's an opportunity to make money. We
Yeah.
want people that understand what you're going to do
Mhm.
and come in and actually enjoy what you're going to do. So we always will open the doors for opportunity to come and shadow.
Oh, great.
As a therapist, once you're a student, you're going to have requirements to actually put in the hours of shadowing before you actually apply for the program. It's usually
Okay.
about a week
Before.
worth of hours.
Okay.
It's some programs I've heard maybe two 8-hour days or something like that.
Okay.
But I know mine was 40 hours altogether,
Mm.
and you can break it up. But just go in and observe what they're doing and make sure that you understand what you might be trying to get into in the future. Once you're in the programs, they have two levels. They have a level one and a level two of shadowing. Level one is
Oh.
really you go in and you actually get to work alongside the therapist. And then level two is your last 6 months of school. You're actually a clinician in the field, just like a residency with a doctor. And you're
Uh-huh.
actually working hand in hand with patients. You'll have your own clientele and you'll take care of them just like you're a treating therapist, and
Wow.
it can be fun.
So as a part of the program, you would actually get hands-on experience, like a clinical
Yes,
rotation.
you will
Is
have
it?
your clinical
Wow.
rotations.
Okay, so you do get some hands-on. Oh, that's good. So you can start learning, but I'm sure many
When
years
you're
of experience are.
when you're done with your level twos, you're pretty much ready to
You're
go
ready
out and
to
get
go.
your license,
Good.
and you just have to pass the exam,
Okay.
and you can
So
start
there's a
working with
national
patients
exam.
right away.
Okay, wow, that's great. And it sounds like they probably have find the job to be able to do that too. It sounds like there's a
Oh,
demand. Wow.
the demand is
That's
here.
great.
Yeah, they're here. Pediatrics is a big demand right now. Schools are
Okay.
back in session, and all schools
Oh,
are
sure.
required by the state to fulfill all the needs.
Oh,
So they're
interesting.
scrambling around, and they'll take anything you can give them at this point in time.
Okay.
But skilled nursing facilities are always in need
Mm.
of a therapist. That one, the turnover rate is a little bit higher in skilled nursing, and it's just because it's a slower. I think it's because it's more of a slower pace, but you know, uh, there's always jobs.
Okay, well that's great. Would you recommend your job? And if so, to who? Is there a certain personality trait, characteristic that would make somebody more
I would
successful? Not
say
really. Anybody can do it? What do you think?
absolutely, I recommend my job.
Okay.
But here's the deal. Um, I used to say that only certain personalities, meaning go-getters, all that good stuff. But through the time we've evolved and we have other specialty areas. And I think that if you're not a very social person, you still could do the occupation of occupational therapist.
Okay.
There's the pun. You still could become an occupational therapist.
Okay.
There are different things that you can do, like ergonomics training, or you could do. Some companies will hire therapists to come in and make sure that the workspace is adequate in height, make sure that the computers are at the right height, make sure that the chairs at the right height, because you're trained in ergonomics and body
Mhm.
positioning.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
you could become a home modification specialist where you actually go out to the homes. I actually did this for the state, and you will tell them, to make sure everything is compliant with the regulations, state required regulations and federal regulations,
Okay.
as far as the size of the doors and the size of the openings for wheelchairs and placement
Okay.
of grab bars, things like that.
Oh, wow.
So there's a strong need for that just as well.
Okay.
But then overall, my thing is this: you just gotta love what you do. You want to make sure that whatever you choose, that you're doing it for the right reasons because you care. See,
Mm.
when you're dealing with patients and you're dealing with people, they don't want to be there.
Oh,
The last thing they want to do is see somebody else that doesn't seem like they want to be there as well.
mm.
So I take that into uh, the highest form of respect. You need to make sure that people are being motivated by you as well.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a lot of my job too. 60% of the healing process is the mental state of an individual.
Oh,
And if
wow.
that person's depressed, I've got to figure out how to get them motivated to participate with me. And a lot of it comes from my bubbly personality, my playfulness, or being able to tell jokes, or things like that. They're going to stimulate the release of the right chemicals in the brain that might actually offset how they're feeling to make them want to feel better. So that's a lot of the psych training that you'll get too if you actually go in that direction. But just remember, it's not about the buck. There's a plenty of professions out here that you can earn money in. But if you're going to do it, Do it for the right reasons because you want to help other people.
Mhm.
We do not want people coming in to represent our profession that are only giving half of what they really can. That's because these people need a lot more than that.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. Sounds like there's a need for it, and the people who need it really, wow, benefit a lot from what you do. That's great.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Okay. So would you be comfortable with me sharing your contact information if students want to ask you additional questions? Is that okay?
Anytime. Anytime.
Okay, I'll put it up on the screen. Thanks. Okay. Anything else we didn't cover that you think is important about what you do?
Not necessarily. Just push yourself to the fullest and enjoy the time. If you decide to go this route, um, it's very rewarding in the end. School goes by slow but fast. It's very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. Just watch out for abnormal psychology.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, Shawn. Really, really appreciate your time today.
No problem. No
Yeah,
problem.
really, that was great. Really appreciate it.